guys, this is Eliza and welcome back to a new video. So today we'll be talking about my most anticipated books for January and February of 2020. So I was originally going to do a just 2020 releases, like all of the books, but then I was like, no, I need to calm down because otherwise I will literally go and pre-order half the books that are releasing this year. And I don't want to do that because my bank account right now does not agree with that. So I've just looked at the ones that are releasing in January and February. So they're the ones that we're going to talk about, and I'll try and do this video like every 2 months. I used to try and do it every month, especially on my blog, but I think I'm just going to do it every 2 months now. So yeah, let's just get into it. I'll start with the January ones and I'll try and go in order. So yeah, let's just jump in. So first we have the books that release on January 7th. I actually have 3 on this list. So first off we have A Heart So Fierce and Broken by Brigid Kemmerer. This is the second book to A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which I read this year, 2019, and it was freaking amazing. It was such a good book. I'll try and leave my review link down below because I'm pretty sure I reviewed it. I don't know, there was a little while there where I wasn't really reviewing books and then I tried to catch up, so I'm not sure. But if I reviewed it, I will leave a link down below. But yeah, I'm so keen for this one. Obviously it is a sequel, so I love the first one. Super keen to see what happens in the next one. Obviously I haven't read a synopsis for the second book because I'm just keen for it because it's the sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely. But A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a portal fantasy and it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. This person gets kidnapped and they get taken to this castle and they're meant to fall in love with the prince because he needs to break his spell, but then like things happen within the kingdom and they've got to fight this battle, and it's just freaking awesome, and I just loved it so much. And it is told in dual perspective between the main character and the prince, but the next one is going to be told in 3 perspectives, which I'm so keen about. Next we have One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus, which this is the sequel to One of Us Is Lying, and I really enjoyed One of Us Is Lying, as well as Two Can Keep a Secret, which is her second book. So she released One of Us Is Lying and then she released Two Can Keep a Secret, and now she's releasing One of Us Is Next, which is the sequel to One of Us Is Lying, something along those lines. But yeah, I really enjoyed One of Us Is Lying and Two Can Keep a Secret. They are really good mysteries, really enjoyable. They're YA, they've got really good fun settings, well, slightly creepy settings, but I really enjoyed them, so I'm super keen to see what she does next. And this one is a sequel to One of Us Is Lying, so I'm keen. Obviously to begin with we didn't know that there was going to be a sequel, and now there's going to be, so I'm hoping it will be good. We'll see. Sometimes when they like tack on a sequel afterwards, it's kind of like it can either be really good or it could either be really shit, so I'm a little nervous, but I am keen for it. It's not the one I pre-ordered though. I did not pre-order this one because I limited myself to 4 books for January, and this was the 5th. So I will buy it at some point, but I just have not pre-ordered it right now. The next one that is released on the 7th is Come Tumbling Down by Shauna Maguire. This is the 5th book in the Wayward Children series. I have no idea what this one is about because I have not read a synopsis, but I'm assuming it's another world, another character we're following. If you didn't know, the first book, Every Heart a Doorway, is about the people who come back from portal fantasies basically, and then they have to try and survive in the real world after coming back from these magical, amazing worlds that they are meant to be in. And there's also a mystery in Every Heart a Doorway, which I loved. And then the 2nd, 3rd and 4th book that we currently have out, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Beneath the Sugar Sky, and what's the other one? In an Absent Dream, are all about these worlds and some of the kids that go to these worlds, and we get to learn about them. They're really, really short books and I love them, and I'm assuming Come Tumbling Down is just another one of these worlds. So fingers crossed, because I'm super keen to learn about another one of these worlds. But yeah, I just don't know because I haven't read the synopsis and I don't want to read the synopsis. I'm just keen to get a hold of it and jump in and see what happens basically. Now onto the 2 books that are released on the 21st of January. The first one is probably my most anticipated release for this year that I know of so far, that I can think of at the present time. Anyway, and that is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson, which is the 3rd book to Truly Devious, and I loved Truly Devious. I loved The Vanishing Stair. I'm so keen for The Hand on the Wall. This is one that I'll probably literally pick up as soon as it arrives at my house. I have pre-ordered it, and I do plan to do a reread of Truly Devious and The Vanishing Stair on audiobook before this one arrives, because I'm just so freaking keen. This is like a YA mystery. Basically, there was this kidnapping years ago at this like boarding school up in the hills, which is like really fancy and awesome, and it was never solved. And then nowadays there is another disappearance, murder, something's going on, and they could be linked. We don't know, and we're getting clues for this one and clues for that one, and it could be intertwined, and it's just incredible. It is a really good book, but I feel like it's definitely one of those books that you either love or hate. I've heard some really negative reviews about it, but I'm one of those people that absolutely love it. So I'm super keen for the third book. So freaking keen. So the next book that is coming out on the 21st of January is This Vicious Cure by Emily Suvada. This is the third book to This Mortal Coil, second book of This Cruel Design, and I loved This Mortal Coil. It is a YA dystopian, like disease-based dystopian, and it is super brutal, super interesting. I absolutely love it. The only thing I didn't love was the romance, but you know, I'm just not a fan of romances in general, so that's pretty normal. I'm used to not enjoying the romances, but everything else about this book is incredible and I absolutely loved it. And then I read the second book last year and it was just as good, so I'm super keen to read This Vicious Cure. Most of the ones in January are all sequels. Actually, all of the ones in January are all sequels that I'm like really keen for, whereas in February they're all new to me books except for one. So obviously I'm super keen for the sequels because I loved the first book, and now the sequel's coming out and I'm like, I need to read it. So yes, that is all the books for January. Now moving on to February. First we have a release on February 1st, which is Belle Revolt. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not 100% sure, by Lindsay Miller. I've read Mask of Shadows by Lindsay Miller, but I still haven't gotten around to reading the sequel, which is Ruin of Stars. It's sitting on my TBR shelf right there, looking at me like, bitch, you have not read me. But I really enjoyed Mask of Shadows, and I'm still super keen to get to Ruin of Stars. I just haven't had time to get there yet. But this is her new book. I'm pretty sure it's a first in a series, I think. And it looks really interesting. I don't actually know what it's about, but I love Lindsay Miller's writing, so I'm just like, yep, I want to read it. So yeah, I'm super keen. Sorry I can't tell you what it's about, but I like going into books without knowing anything about the synopsis, so I don't want to spoil myself just to make this video. But yeah, I am super keen for that one, and I need to read Ruin of Stars before I read that one. That's my goal. I need to read Ruin of Stars because it has been forever. That and The Devil's Thief. I need to read that too. That's by Lisa Maxwell, because I read Mask of Shadows and what's the first book to The Devil's Thief? I can't remember what it's called, but I read them, The Last Magician. I read them basically at the same time, and I still haven't read either of the sequels. Really need to get to that. So next we have a book releasing on the 4th, which is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. This one, I just looked up, you know, 2020 releases, and it looked really interesting, so I opened it and I looked at the genres and there was no romance mentioned, and I read like a little bit of the synopsis and it sounded really interesting, and also the cover, it's freaking gorgeous. So yeah, I'm keen to read it. I'm curious to see what it is really about. Obviously I only read like a little bit of the synopsis because again, I like going in not knowing much. I didn't want to spoil myself, but yeah, I'm super keen to get to this one as well. I'm super interested, and I haven't really heard much about it, so hopefully it's good. Then we have a release for February 6th, which is Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Oseman, which is the only contemporary on this entire list. Obviously Heartstopper is a graphic novel series and I really enjoyed it. It's just cute, fluffy, easy to read in between other heavier books, and I love Alice Oseman's writing. I don't know what it is, even though I'm not a romance reader, I'm not a contemporary reader, there is just something about her books that I really enjoy. So yeah, I'll definitely be picking up volume 3 when it comes out, and volume 1 and 2 actually made it to my best books of 2019 video. And then lastly we have 2 books that are releasing on the 25th of February. The first one being The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. I absolutely love Tricia Levenseller's work. I've read the Daughter of the Pirate King, Daughter of the Siren Queen duology, and I've also read Warrior of the Wild. And while Warrior of the Wild wasn't my favorite, it wasn't like living up to the expectations that I had from Daughter of the Pirate King, but it was still a really good book and really interesting, and it was super short, so that was awesome as well. But I just really enjoy her writing, and I haven't read what Shadows Beneath Us is about, but I'm keen to read it either way, basically. Again, I don't like reading synopsises, so I'm just keen. It's an author I enjoy, so I'm super interested to see what she writes next. And last book on this list, again, releases on the 25th of February, and that is Red Hood by Eleanor K. Arnold. This one I've seen around a couple times now, and I'm super curious. It is a Red Riding Hood retelling, so I like retelling, so I'm keen to see how this one is taken. It looks like it's going to be a dark retelling. Granted, Red Riding Hood was not the lighthearted story that you would think it'd be, being a fairy tale, but you know. But yeah, this looks like a dark retelling of that, and I'm super interested. I've never read anything by this author before, but she was the author of Damsel, I think it was, which was a little bit popular a couple years ago, maybe last year, year before, I can't remember. It kind of did the rounds and I was super curious about it, but I never got around to reading it. And now we've got Red Hood coming out, which looks pretty interesting, so I'm keen to see what it's about. Obviously it's Red Riding Hood retelling, but it's got to diverge from that story somehow, so I'm super keen to see what goes down in this one, and it looks super interesting, so I'm keen to read it. So yeah, that is all the books that I am anticipating for January and February of 2020, and most of them I am like so keen for because a lot of them are sequels, and I'm just like, yes, give me all these conclusions, because This Vicious Cure is a conclusion, The Hand on the Wall is a conclusion. I don't know about The Heart So Fierce and Broken. Is it a duology? I can't remember, but yeah, I'm super keen either way to get a hold of these books, and as I said, I've pre-ordered some of them. I will definitely pre-order some again in for February, which I'll probably do in January. But yeah, I'm super keen to read all these books. Let me know in the comments if you are anticipating any of these ones, especially the sequels, because then we can like rave about the first book. But yeah, that is it for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.